Yeah, that's.
I've been informed that we don't have anyone else coming, and one of our problems is we have between illnesses and people on vacation and the like, we don't have people here from the college council itself, our council members. But we're going to be faced with an inability to have the council itself pass some resolutions that we have to vote on. But nevertheless, I'll call the meeting to order and ask if we could have a roll call.
Ms. Hightower, Mr. Graven, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Kelly, Ms. Garrett, Mr. Mannix,
Here.
Mr. Russell, and Mr. Burke. We do not have a quorum.
Okay. We have an agenda that you should all have received, and we'll go forward with the agenda as we have it. Again, we have minutes from our prior meeting, and I have received those minutes. We can't take and approve those minutes, so they will be held until the next meeting of the council, and we will vote on those at that time. Same with the minutes for the March meeting. Public comment. We can accept any comment, any public comment at this time. Lacking public comment. We've got some action items, and we can discuss the resolutions that we otherwise would have acted upon, so that people are aware of what they are, and these, as I said, will be acted upon. Next time we can pull together a quorum of the council.
John Johnson.
We have
John, are you on?
but still we don't have a quorum.
Marvin, will you be able to do like a email vote or phone vote for the resolutions in the near future?
The email vote, I would think. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the next meeting is not until September.
Right.
Yep.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yep. That's what we will do. Excuse me. We have the resolutions there, Sue.
Everybody has a copy, but everybody was received a copy of them already. Are you with us, John?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. With the resolution honoring Bob Emery upon the occasion of his retirement. Whereas Plattsburgh State men's hockey coach Bob Emery is retiring after 30 years leading the Cardinals championship program. Whereas during his time behind the bench, he accumulated an overall record of 624 wins, 215 losses, and 65 ties, placing him 11th in wins among all coaches in NCAA ice hockey history. And whereas he has led the Cardinals to 2 NCAA Division III national championships in 1992 and 2001, whereas under his guidance, Plattsburgh State won 16 State University of New York athletic conference titles and made 18 NCAA Division III tournament appearances, including 10 trips to the national semifinals. And whereas he was an 8-time SUNYAC Coach of the Year, mentoring 22 different student athletes to All-American recognition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the College Council of the State University of New York College at Plattsburgh congratulates Bob Emery on his long career at the college and immeasurable influence among his players and peers. And further resolved that the college expresses its distinct appreciation for Coach Bob Emery's dedication and commitment to the program and the institution. And this is cited as unanimously approved because we're anticipating that that will be the case. Okay. And then we likewise have a resolution honoring the women's ice hockey team on winning its 7th NCAA national championship. Whereas the Plattsburgh State women's hockey team captured the NCAA Division III national championship by defeating Hamline University 4-0 at the University of St. Thomas Academy Ice Hockey Arena on Saturday, March 16th. And whereas the national championship marked the program's 7th Division III title, an NCAA record, joining championships in 2007, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Whereas under the guidance of head coach Kevin Houle and assistant coach Danielle Blanchard, the Cardinals finished the season on an 18-game winning streak, went 29-2-0, and tied program record for most wins in a season. And whereas senior forward Courtney Moriarty was named NCAA Tournament Most Valuable Player, whereas several members of the Cardinals received honors from the American Hockey Coaches Association and Northeast Women's Hockey League, including CCM, AHCA Women's Division III All-American Team senior Cassie Abbott, Medford, Massachusetts goaltender first team, sophomore Annie Katonka, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania forward first team, senior Courtney Moriarty, Estero, Florida forward second team, junior Hannah Kirali, Glendale, Arizona defenseman second team. In the NEWHL, senior Courtney Moriarty, forward 2019 Player of the Year, freshman Hannah Rose, Charlemont, New York defenseman 2019 Rookie of the Year, senior Cassie Abbott, Medford, Massachusetts goaltender 2019 co-goalie of the year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the College Council of the State University of New York College of Plattsburgh congratulates the Cardinal women's ice hockey team players and coaches for their outstanding season and continued success on the ice and off. And be it further resolved that the college expresses its distinct pride in the positive recognition the team has brought to Cardinal athletics, SUNY Plattsburgh, and the wider community. And again, assume unanimously approved.
Marty, you know, you may want to amend that before it's voted on to include the fact that since it was written, Kevin Gould's been named the D3 Women's Hockey Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah,
For the
third
third
time. I agree with you. Then we have a resolution honoring President John Ettling upon the occasion of his retirement. Whereas John Ettling became the 10th president of State University of New York College at Plattsburgh on June 15, 2004, after serving as vice president of academic affairs and provost at the University of North Dakota. And whereas President Ettling announced his plans to retire following the 2018-19 academic year, and whereas in 15 years leading the college, President Ettling steadfastly worked to advance the success of all students and encouraged efforts toward greater diversity and inclusion among students, faculty, and staff. And whereas the campus has seen facilities improvements during his tenure with new academic buildings with updated features, renovated residence halls with added amenities, and picturesque Hawkins Pond. And whereas the completion of the college's first ever major capital campaign has been followed by other successful efforts to connect the alumni and friends of the college, broadening opportunities for students to grow and learn. And whereas President Ettling has encouraged the campus to be engaged in the community and has invested personally in the city of Plattsburgh and the surrounding area, serving on numerous boards and advisory councils. And whereas called to serve his country as a young man, he did so with honor while as an officer in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1971 and was a B-52 crew member. Now therefore be it resolved that the College Council of the State University of New York College at Plattsburgh expresses its appreciation for the leadership and commitment of President Ettling, and be it further resolved that the council extends its best wishes to President Ettling and his wife Lisa Lewis upon the occasion of his retirement. Again, unanimously approved this date.
I have to say that Lisa and I are the two little people on the top of the wedding cake. We didn't bake it. And we're not even going to get to eat it. But I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of other people who are responsible for everything.
Am I correct? You're served the second longest tenure as president?
I think Hawkins was there for like 30 or 40 years.
Oh, he was a third.
Yeah. Wasn't it something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was long. God, he must have started. Nobody's gonna break that record. And also, I think George Angel was there for 20. Yeah. So no, I'm down.
Third.
The interesting to see if anybody can last 15 years. Whoever comes in is going to inherit a really extraordinary leadership team. I will tell you that.
You've done a wonderful job. You inherited the person coming in will inherit much more than you inherited. You arrived.
On the other hand, Marty,
Okay.
I would just show up at things and people would say, "Look, the president's here." I said, "Yeah, it's my job." Expectations were much lower than that. That's my job. Yeah.
Okay. We have the dates for the upcoming College Council meetings in September, November of 2019, and then February and April of 2020. We have updates on the presidential search, and we're happy to tell you that the committee has forwarded 3 names to the chancellor, and so the search is in her hands, and I'm very pleased that Ann is here, and I would tell you, and I would be remiss if I didn't, that the work of that search committee really was made possible, enabled by the work that Ann did, which it would be very hard to put a number of hours on the amount of time that Ann spent on that. It was monumental, and I can tell you that the time frame that we worked with as a committee, the representative from the chancellor's office himself commented on the fact that he did not believe that we could meet that time frame, and yet we hit every mark on that time frame, and that paid off for us. We got a little bit of a present out of that, if you will, in the sense it was another campus that failed to meet their time frames, and had to ask the chancellor for a time change on when she would interview the people that they would send, and consequently they flipped our representatives and that school's representatives. So our representatives were able to be interviewed earlier, and it shortened dramatically. It shortened, instead of our representatives having to wait what would have been something that looked like 7 weeks before they would be interviewed. They were interviewed much sooner than that, and that was to our benefit. As you can imagine, if you're waiting to find out how things are going to go for you or whatever, you really don't want to have to wait that long before you even get the opportunity to be interviewed. So that was to our benefit, and so that was a bonus, if you will, that came our way. But it all came, and while I congratulate Ann, I would be equally remiss if I didn't speak to the fact that all of the representatives of that committee, particularly our faculty and non-faculty representatives of that committee, were consistently, extremely diligent to the work that was called, and it was demanding, really demanding, and but it was done, and as I said, it's now in the hands of the chancellor, and we're happy that it's there, and we're looking forward to hearing a positive result soon. So That's, and we've had a number of telephone conversations since that information was sent down, and the conversations have been quite positive. So we're
So Marty, I gotta tell you that this is a high-profile search, and you're absolutely right. The committee was remarkable. But I have to tell you also, there are dozens of searches that go on this campus every year, not just for presidents, obviously, that consume almost as much time and energy on the part of faculty and staff, and they do it. They do it really, really well. And it's all out of their hides. It's extra service.
Mm-hmm.
And so you participated in this one. You saw how much time and energy went into it. That happens frequently here.
Yeah.
Not the same level of visibility.
okay.
That was our impact list, John, but but really, we put that in does go through all the time. So thanks for saying that.
And I don't know if anyone wishes to speak to the search that went on in regards to the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Need to jump in? If you can. So we had 3 candidates on campus. We had our final candidate last week on Thursday and Friday. By the campus feedback, we had 3 very good competitive candidates, and the search committee met this morning to do its final task, and we need to do some follow-up, but that summary of that information was also shared today with the Executive Council, and so further conversations are happening. So, but we feel good about where we are and feel good about the candidates that we brought to campus.
Okay. We've got some committee reports. Dr. Hill.
Academic Affairs. Steve, you want to kick it off?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm representing Andy Buxer today. He asked me to mention the SUNY Strong Start to Finish program, which you've probably heard about already. This is a program designed to help first-year students, underrepresented students, in the first year, mainly with courses that traditionally are remedial courses. And the research has shown that remedial courses, students often fail them. They don't like to take them because they don't have credit attached to them, and so on. So this is a program that is set up by the Gates Foundation and some other foundations nationwide, and SUNY system, the entire SUNY system participated. And so, long story short, we're going to have some money in the next few years to put people into these courses. They're co-requisite courses. They take them at the same time as the credit-bearing courses in math, English, and so on. So we're going to be working on that.
Okay.
Rowena?
So I just wanted to mention a couple of things about the School of Business and Economics. We've received a variety of best in value rankings, which are exciting. Marketing placed 29th nationally. Hospitality management, I had shared prior, council was ranked 12th nationally, and that's out of 111 programs. Marketing is out of 402 programs. Management information systems ranked 20th nationally out of 140 programs. Business administration ranked 64th nationally out of 711 business administration programs. And I think I've mentioned before, the online accounting was ranked 11th among the top 25 online accounting programs. And the accounting program itself was ranked 16th among the top 50. So this is kind of a return on investment for students based on jobs and opportunities that students get versus the tuition that they pay. So that's really exciting for us. A couple other things. I don't know if I've shared this before, but some of our students do IBM co-ops, which is a little different than the internships. It's a 6-month process. They actually take off a little bit of time from their academics, but they get paid for it. We are the only SUNY system that IBM still recruits from. And since 1997, we've placed over 100 students in IBM co-ops, and approximately 50% of those have turned into full-time job offers. So we're doing really well there, and that's exciting. And we continue to nurture that relationship because that's critical. We've even gotten into the IBM security space with the cybersecurity focus. The Career Development Center is doing their first destination surveys annually now. And so for the class of 2017, which was the first time they've done it, our placement rate was about 80%, which means full-time employed, grad school, or volunteer. And then very consistent class of 2018 was also 79% placement rate. So that's students who are getting ready to graduate. That's not 3 months out or 6 months out. So that's really good. We just had our SBE Leadership Summit this past Saturday. This is something that came out of the first incident we had, diversity, equity, and inclusion incident we had on campus with the Cardinal Points picture. So Tara Studley at the time had surveyed our students because we were curious about their needs and what they felt in terms of belonging here and sort of some other issues. And as you can kind of imagine, business students are pretty practically oriented. So where they felt fine in every sense, except for they actually wanted more professional development. And so this is the manifestation of meeting those needs. So it's the 4th annual Leadership Summit, professional development opportunities for students, from dining etiquette to money matters, leadership issues. We've tried to invite every year a keynote speaker who's an alum, because obviously we find that that is an important connection. This year, our keynote speaker was Donnie Coolidge, who's a vet and who has started a company called Majestic Apps. And then also he's got 2 companies, and Cognitoys, which is an artificial intelligence dinosaur, basically. And it's very cool because a lot of our students desire to become alums. Of course they'll become alums. Desire to become entrepreneurs, and it's great to hear from him because he was very informal, very warm, but also really put it out there for them that this is the hard work and the risk that you need to take in order to be able to do this work. So, and we are very appreciative to IA for the ACE grants, because that's always been very helpful to bring the alumni back. Then it's very awesome to report that we have our first cohort of the data analytics group graduating. All 10 of our students are graduating, so that's very exciting. And then our first cohort of the online accounting students is graduating this May. And we are in discussions with SUNY Online to see if there's a potential that we could be a pilot for their new initiatives and expand this program out. And then we met with a Chinese delegation from Walney University to explore how we could further develop the supply chain management relationship that we currently have. It's been dwindling, but we've got to figure out a way to revive it. And I will leave it at that.
Thanks. 2 things from LITS. There's searches going on to replace people who have moved or retired. There's 3 of those, one of which will not be searched. The position will be permanently unfunded. Not an uncommon event the last couple of years. However, there are 2 other searches underway, one a failed search and another a search for a programmer analyst to focus on institutional effectiveness. That position was funded through enrollment management. Several software and IT upgrades going on. The library is also fully engaged in SUNY Open Education and resources and open education policy initiatives In the fall, we'll offer a new course, an elective LTS 254 Academic Technology Boot Camp. Kind of a military theme there. Project and Service Management area has developed a 9-year operational budget for NetOps as part of a unit sustainability program, physical planning and assessment. Y'all are invited to Popcorn Thursdays, a community building free popcorn event with conversation Thursdays at 3 p.m. And also they're doing SUNY's Got Your Back, collecting donations for student support services and Stop Domestic Violence. National Library Week is being celebrated, the International Year of the Periodic Table, which I haven't memorized yet, close, and some other events. Feinberg Library is hosting a presentation developed by a political science course taught by John McMahon, one of our new assistant professors. The exhibit opens with a presentation on May 1st at 4 o'clock, and it is "And Still We Rise," celebrating the rediscovery of Plattsburgh's iconic Black visitors. And I think that's going to be kind of neat. Campus information security is continuing to roll out of multi-factor authentication to sign into sensitive databases. And this next one caused quite a stir among some. Campus information security launched the first phishing awareness campaign for scammers. The campus had a click rate of 1% on a fake email and a form submission rate of 1% out of 6,055 delivered email messages during a 3-year period, which is pretty good.
3-day.
Yes, 3-day period. That's pretty good too. So, good. From the branch campus is planning to move the school district leadership program to fully online from its present 50% face-to-face, 50% online. We're actively promoting a North Country cohort for Ed Leadership, that graduate program, which would serve the Champlain Valley Educational Services area and Franklin County regions. And that program, the program offerings will move forward this fall if enrollments reach 7 students. April 24th, SUNY Undergraduate Research Conference is being co-hosted by SUNY Adirondack and SUNY Plattsburgh. And there'll be over 110 students who have submitted abstracts and 300 total students and mentors expected to attend that event. And that's from the branch campus. From the Institute for Ethics in Public Life, the Institute will be celebrating its 20th year next academic year. Plans include a special anniversary colloquia. Jonathan pronounces that word differently. Colloquy.
Colloquy.
Whatever.
The colloquy is held at a colloquium.
People are going to gather to talk. And that special event will be with the founding director, Dr. Thomas Moran. There'll be, in addition, a year-long calendar of those gatherings featuring the publications and scholarship of past ethics fellows and senior scholars, and a fundraising campaign among the Institute's faculty and alumni. More information will follow. That's it.
Administration and finance. Josie?
Right, well, I'll try and my best Pat Russell invitation on his behalf, since it is tax day, so it's understandable that he's not here. So really just going to highlight money matters at this time of the year. So just a little bit on the 18-19 year that we're in. We're almost done. The faculty and the students are both, anxious for that graduation date. So we did well this year with our student population and our head count. In the fall, we had over 5,700 students. And then in the spring, we had 5231. And there's always a drop between fall and spring, since we do have students who do graduate and less coming in the spring term. So we should be all really proud of our admissions team, the recruitment efforts that were done. So that was the second year in a row where we actually hit an uptick. And with that meant we had additional revenue that came through this fiscal year. So the good news is we'll have to use less reserves to meet the total payments that the college has to pay. We won't be not projected to, let's say, make money or add to our reserves, but we'll be able to use less of it. So again, it's still good news. It's not the best of news, but it's still good. Some good news in regards to the New York State budget that was approved. They did approve the predictable tuition plan, so that's good. So the standard in-state tuition will increase by $100 per term. So that's a continued support of higher education. The next big item that the state added is $109.5 million to SUNY in one-time funding to support the retroactive UUP collective bargaining agreement payouts that were done this year. So that's great. So that will culminate with some additional cash coming to SUNY Plattsburgh, probably right around June 30th when our fiscal year ends. And so that cash can be utilized to help our efforts during next fiscal year. So that was good to see. The state is also funding $550 million of capital improvements for the SUNY system. It's the same amount of money that was provided for in this budget. So that's at least good. SUNY's ask is around the $850 million threshold in order to not have continued decline of our capital investments, but 550 is still, at least it's a good investment, and they see the need to support higher education. Let's see what else. There was some language in the proposed governor's budget to remove what's called SUNY Flex, and that is SUNY's ability to actually award contracts under $250,000. So the governor was going to limit that and require the Office of the State Controller's review in advance of those contracts being signed. And so the good news is the final budget does not talk at all about this. So the bad news is they're still talking about it. So there's still lots of conversation. There's a continued heightened interest by the Office of the State Controller to review and approve and authorize all of our contracts, construction included. And it would have a serious impact on not only this campus, but all SUNY campuses in doing what's necessary to keep the doors open and support our students. So we're in the midst of planning our budget for next year, for 1920. We are projecting a decline in our student enrollment. That's one thing that we're projecting from last year even. And it's based primarily on the smaller amount of high school eligible graduates for college. So our target right now is about a little less than 5,600. And again, fall we were at 57 this year. So reduction of a little over 100 students for next year. And so that's where we're going. we'll finalize our budget plans over the next probably 45 days and be able to provide a new incoming president, I guess, with a adopted budget, and we'll see where things go from there.
Next up would be institutional advancement.
I think it's 9.3 is next.
9.3.
Excuse me. And that's Mr. Johnson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. SUNY days were held in Washington last week on April 9th and 10th, and Ken Kennelly represented the college in Washington those 2 days. And during those days, he met with two of our U.S. senators' staff and also met personally with Representative Stefanik, at which time he gave to Stefanik a photo of our women's hockey championship team to hang in her office, and also to extend to her an invitation to visit the campus later this summer in hopes that she'd have the opportunity to meet our new president. He also has learned that the senators and Representative Stefanik continue to strongly support maintaining trail funding at its current levels. This is a program that supports Upward Bound and student support services. And in the current Trump administration budget, there's a recommendation that this program be funded at 1/3 of the current level. And our local elected officials have indicated a willingness to work hard to make sure that the levels are maintained at their current level. On the state level, Ken tells me that Assemblyman Jones and Senator Little have both had resolutions passed in their respective houses honoring our women's hockey team. The hockey team has been to visit Albany on April 30th, at which time they'll be brought to both houses to meet and be congratulated for their feat. Ken also tells me that Assemblyman Jones continues to be a real strong SUNY advocate for Plattsburgh State, and has been very helpful in the past getting access into the governor's office for college-related matters. On the local level, city, town, and county officials have all passed resolutions honoring the women's hockey team. Our university police chief, Pat Roscoe, has been appointed to a committee that is looking at city-college issues in an effort to foster cooperative relationships between the city and the college, which is always an ongoing effort, as we know. And finally, I've mentioned in past meetings the LINK group, which is a Listening and Inclusive Community Coalition. They continue to meet on an ongoing basis. In fact, I've over the last several months participated with Professor Michelle Willette's class in community conversation events. So that committee continues to work and is involving our own students in its efforts. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. I know Ken isn't there today, but I'll do my best if there is any.
Thank you, John. Now institutional advancement.
No,
No.
it's me again.
Oh, it's you again? Excuse me.
I should have just done them back to back. But facilities and capital planning update. We're preparing really for work this summer. But we're still finishing up some other ones. So a couple of highlights. The college has partnered with the Student Association to install a rainbow crosswalk. The rainbow crosswalk will be installed between the Kehoe main parking lot and Myers building, and a painting event is scheduled for May 2nd.
We think of that as the Myers main parking lot.
I hope crosswalk will be at the Myers main parking lot.
Myers main parking lot.
To shepherd people directly in, steer them directly into Myers.
Building. The athletic department thinks that it's the Memorial Hall.
True that. So that's going to be exciting. The Angel College Center restrooms, the construction of the first floor main lobby restrooms is complete, including 2 gender-neutral accessible restrooms. The stacked bathrooms on the end of ACC closest to Feinberg are closed and are in the process of being upgraded. We are going to be renovating the Hudson Hall main and annex parking lot this summer. So we're hopeful that the work will be done and completed this summer. It should start in July. So we'll cross our fingers. Kent Hall renovations. So this is the next large resident hall renovation will kick off this year. So Kent will be closed this academic year. The renovation will include some food service vendor, reconfiguration of the building, living spaces to suites with private bathrooms, including ADA bathrooms. Our large complete renovation project is Memorial Hall that you keep hearing about. Hopefully that we will have an actual groundbreaking date by our first meeting, I would hope. It'll be close to that. So we're in the final stages of developing construction bid documents and working with SUNY Construction Fund. And we are very hopeful that the contract will get let in the fall, and we will begin the project at the end of this calendar year. That's what we're striving towards. So this will be a phased renovation of the entire building. And it will begin with the closure and demolition of the pool. It will be replaced with a new rec gym, an expanded fitness center, an athletic training room, new locker rooms. It's going to be beautiful. That's all.
I know you've been waiting, Ann.
Yeah, very eager. So on the fundraising front, I'll share that we would just hit the 4 million mark for new gifts and pledges for the current year. So we have 2.5 months to go. We have already exceeded what was raised in the full year last year. So we're chugging along. And that is large, getting to 4 million already is largely due to the fact that before we launched the search, we were able to close a $2 million gift for scholarship. So there'll be a nice story about that in one of our print. We have a Living Legacy. It's a planned giving print newsletter that highlights people and opportunities for making planned gifts. Those are gifts that you receive through after someone passes away through their estate. But in the case of this $2 million gift, it's an irrevocable charitable trust. So it's guaranteed that the college will receive that amount of money in not too far in the distant future. The other thing I wanted to share is just some special events that we have planned to honor Dr. Etling and Lisa Lewis. Marty as chair of the College Council, Linda Bourgeois as president of the foundation, and Dr. Ashley Gambino as president of the Alumni Association are all teaming up, and IA is organizing a lovely dinner and reception on May 3rd, Friday. And the foundation's also going to sponsor some open houses. So the dinner is a gathering where people would need to buy a ticket to attend. But the open houses are a great opportunity for faculty and staff to just stop by and be able to say thank you to President Etling and Lisa Lewis over at the Olive Mason Flint House. So there's 2 dates and 2 different days of the week and 2 different time frames to try to make it accessible for as many campus community members as possible. The other thing that's really exciting, I think, about honoring John and Lisa in a permanent way. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the courtyard spaces in Hawkins Hall. They're kind of underutilized and not very pleasing in appearance. So the courtyard that's on the north side of Hawkins Hall, it's right over here, we're going to redesign it and put a new garden type environment in there. And the whole goal, the whole vision behind this, Lisa's vision really, I would say, is that it will offer a restorative space for meditation and peaceful reflection. So this space will be a dedicated, no technology, no food even being taken out there, no chitter chatter. It's really meant to be a space that is just a quiet space dedicated for a little peace. And we have a fundraising target of $100,000 for that project. And happily, we've already raised 50. So we have 2 donors who have put up a matching gift of $50,000 total to help us get to that $100,000 mark by June 30th. And the other thing that's powerful about the garden project is that attached to that project is, so it's basically $50,000 to do the garden and then $50,000 for permanent endowment that will not only maintain that garden forever, but will also maintain some other spaces on campus. So it's our first foray towards making sure that we have permanent funding lined up to take care of something new, as well as to help some of the other areas on campus. So it'll be a lovely way to permanently honor Dr. Etling and Lisa, and we'll have some sort of dedication ceremony in the fall. So no one has to say goodbye. We just need to set a date for you all to come back. So those are the things I wanted to share today. That's it.
Very good. Student affairs.
Thanks. I'll start on a somber note. Today is the anniversary of Carlos Elliford's passing. Our EOP program held an event on Friday for students, and there were about 100 in attendance. They did it Friday because the whole staff is at a conference this week. But certainly she's in our memory and still has a will continue that lasting legacy here. We had successful career fair on March 27th. With good turnout of students, and we had about 75 employers represented, which is a strong showing for us. Our annual student recognition ceremony is coming up a week from tomorrow, Tuesday, April 23rd, 4 p.m. in the ballroom, and that's sort of kicks off, the awards ceremony and celebration ceremony in terms of our student achievements. And, so it's a good time of the semester, I believe. And then the other thing that I'll highlight it goes along with memorial renovations that Josie talked about, that from a budget perspective, we are proposing a recreation fee for our students that has been submitted to SUNY. And what that also does, we're in the throes. Hopefully this Wednesday, our student association will approve their budget for next year, and it will reduce their fee by $26 if this other fee gets approved. So trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible. And the student association is on board with creating some other changes in their structure that the college has asked them to do, and we're able to accomplish all of that along with that $26 fee decline. So, and on that.
With nominating and awards committee, we do not have Mr. Creighton here. And he's not connected in with us. Okay. Dr. Etling.
Yep, thank you. Following up on what Brian just said, for several years now, around exam time, we've brought comfort animals for our students. To the Angel College Center dogs, and last year got behind. I guess simply we had donkeys. Well, we're going to have donkeys again this year, but if you go to the Relaford room in Banks Hall and look out that wonderful bank of picture windows that look out toward the San Rivers, we'll have little donkeys out there. So if you need comfort during exam period, come on over and pet a donkey. Is that right, Brian? Is that where they're going to be?
Yeah, behind Macomb.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Most of the things on my list are things that everybody at the table, Marty, and maybe not you, but already know pretty well. So I'll try to be brief. Although I do want to mention that we had what I consider a remarkably successful teaching on February 27th. In fact, it's one of the best things that has happened on this campus, in my view, in the 15 years that I've been here. And one of the things that was terrific about it is that it was conceived, planned, carried out largely by faculty and staff. And Gary and Wendy Gordon and also Tracy Guzio were among the prime movers in this, and they brought it off. The attendance was terrific all day long, students, faculty, staff. And it was capped off that night by a reading by the U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy Smith of her poetry to what was basically a full Giltz auditorium. Amazing. And then she stuck around to sign copies of her books for a good 45 minutes to an hour after that. So the whole day was an incredible success. I want to mention, but only mention, that the Chancellor has called for proposals from the campuses for funds to support a project that they're calling Prodigy, which is intended to bring greater diversity to the faculty across the State University of New York. They're asking for proposals. The deadline for submitting proposals is in July. Gary has been very interested in this, and so have the vice presidents and deans. So SUNY Plattsburgh will be entering this competition for some support to diversify our faculty, which is woefully undiverse. Brian will be in Albany next week, standing on the stage with the Chancellor to congratulate 3 of our students who are receiving the Chancellor Student Excellence Awards. And I will mention their names. Arnold Barreto, who's getting a BFA in art. His hometown is Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And he's graduating in May. His GPA is 3.75. And I may have to get him to help me with this name. Is it Maya? Wickramasinghe?
Wickramasinghe, which you might recognize.
With a name like that,
it's the same as Behinds.
You would not guess that her hometown is Saranac, New York.
They just got married.
Oh, yeah, okay. She graduated in December, and she was a theater major with a 3.78. And the third, we're only allotted 3 because of our total student enrollment is a function of that. And our third is Amit Kumar. He's majoring in the School of Business and Economics. He's going to have 4 degrees, BABS, Economics, Finance, Accounting, and also General Business. He'll have 155 or more hours when he does graduate with a 3.84 GPA. His hometown is Karachi, Pakistan. And this is an editorial. Our consulate in Karachi, in its infinite wisdom, has denied his mother, his brother, and his sister-in-law visas to come watch him graduate. So I wrote a letter, see if it works. It was just awful. So they're amazing students, I will say. What else? Yeah, commencement May 18th. Everybody on the College Council, of course, is invited, and we hope you can attend. The 2 ceremonies, as always in May, 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the morning is business and education and most of the master's students. In the afternoon is arts and sciences. We have 2 honorary degree recipients this year. They both are extraordinary people. Plattsburgh continues to amaze me at what some of our graduates are capable of doing and go on and do. One of them, and you may know this, but I'll be very brief, is the chief executive officer and co-founder of a company in Westchester, Pennsylvania called Medical Targeting Technologies, Inc. His name is Kun Yan Pak, called Chris. He has a PhD, but his baccalaureate degree from us is from 1974. He holds numerous patents and has published more than 60 articles covering the use of antibodies and small molecules for cancer and cardiovascular diseases. His company produces apparatus that is used in laboratories around the world in that area. There's a long list of things that he highlights in his brief biography on the company webpage, recent awards and so forth. And you'll be happy to know that he includes in there SUNY Distinguished Visiting Alumnus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has also been very generous with apparatus. In fact, Kathy Lavoie, when she was dean, drove down to Westchester and filled her car up with machinery and brought it back from Chris's. So Chris is an honorary degree. He will be here. The second honorary degree, some of you may know, Hassan Teta, class of 94. Dr. Teta is an MD, MBA, FACS, and FACHE. His degrees are from us, but also Downstate Medical. Got an MPA at Harvard, I think, and then an MBA at Johns Hopkins. He's the Chief Medical Informatics Officer of the United States Navy. He also does heart-lung transplants. He has 2 tours of duty in Southeast Asia. He was the ship surgeon and director of surgical services for the USS Carl Vinson. He's a career naval officer. Battle group in support of Iraqi freedom in 2005, and in 2011 he was attached to the 2 Marines, what's this division, in Afghanistan, and spent a year there with them in the bush, in Helmand and Nemruz province, performing surgery on wounded soldiers. And out of that, he got a book. He wrote a book. And it's called what, Ann? Do you remember?
Gifts from the Heart.
Gifts from the Heart.
Gifts from the Heart.
It's
pretty moving.
He also has been back as a distinguished visiting fellow. He's extraordinary.
What was his major here?
The name of his book was Gifts from the
What
Heart.
was his major when he was here?
I don't know. You know, I'm sure. I should find out.
I think it was
I don't know
pre-med.
what Chris Papp's major was. I'm assuming it was science.
His closest mentor is Tom Moran. He's dated Tom Moran.
Well, Gary, you'll be happy to hear that one of the things that I did last week was attend an alumni reception in Atlanta. It was hosted by a history graduate
Yeah.
who is doing incredibly well. Who is it? And should we tell him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell him.
Yeah, go ahead. Norm Radow?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know Norm?
Yeah.
He's doing well financially. Physically, not so good. But he did host this extraordinarily good, generous alumni reception. We got quite a turnout.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Marty, that may be it. Oh yeah, just to say that there will be a reception at the President's house on the Friday evening before commencement. That'll be Friday, May 17th, for the platform party to celebrate these 2 honorary degree recipients. I think it'll probably be at 6:30, whenever we can break away from the arts and sciences ceremony and get over there. And you will all, that platform party will all be invited. That concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you. I'm next with the chair. Sorry.
Take care.
Okay. I made my report on the search committee, and that will stand as my report for today, with the exception of one issue, and that is I will make a report about membership of our college council. And it's a bane of existence for any chair of any college council in the state of New York. When I was chairman of the Democratic committee in the county, and I would go to state meetings, the meetings would be fairly well behaved until they got to that topic. And when they got to that topic, they would, lose decorum because the various chairs of the committees would be so at wit's end about how do we do anything to get people appointed to college councils. It's a problem at every single unit of the state university. It's the same problem at community colleges, a little less so at community colleges because half the people at community colleges get appointed by the county legislature and half get appointed at by the by the governor. Okay, and the problem is the governor. Okay, there's nothing involved. There's no money. There's minimum prestige, okay, associated with these positions, and yet, it's simply a way of getting people who, by and large, want to help the college, have a relationship, or wish to have a relationship with the college, involved, and we can't get them appointed. I have two applications, one of which has been involved, has been fully vetted, and in that situation for more than 2 years, and I can't get the appointment made. I have another one that I'm now more than a year, and I can't get the appointment. And what you saw today is a perfect example of our problem, and that is that we should not have quorum issues, but when you reduce the membership down to a number that you can't justify having 2 people or 3 people who can't make a meeting, then you can't deliver a quorum, because all you got to do is have 1 or 2 other people who can't be there for whatever reasons, and you fail. So as I said, I've suffered with this thing for probably the last 6 or 7 years.
Marty, is it a political issue, or is it just a lack of attention?
It's not. It is a political issue in the sense that it sits in the hands of one person, and that person, for whatever reason, will not make the appointments. Okay, it's that simple. And so
if it were this time last year, we would be in serious problems because we were changing our code of conduct, our student code of conduct, and we must go through this body for that. And we dramatically changed it last year.
Yeah. We would also be hurting without a quorum when we want to put names on rooms or buildings as well. This body has to do that.
Oh, thank God we got the search done.
When we were finishing the search project, we had, 5 people in the room, and our vote came down where one person wanted to vote no, which is, they have every right to do that.
Well, I think it's important to mention that at the kind of closed search, we did bring to Joe Porter's attention
Oh,
that and he shared that it's not just a problem for SUNY Plattsburgh, it's a problem across SUNY.
It's
So
everywhere.
it's important for everyone to know that.
But that was an example of, we literally, if we had not had another member who came to the meeting,
You shouldn't be talking
okay,
about that.
he was late in coming to the meeting, but if that person hadn't come to the meeting, we could have literally lacked a majority to be able to pass a vote.
We got it done.
I mean, it's insane. But
You know, I can ask you something. Somebody told me a long, long time ago, tell me if this is not true. If nobody asks, do we have a quorum, then it doesn't matter. Maybe you only have one person there. Is that true? Has anybody heard that before?
no.
You can attempt to do it to inattention to Robert's rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll leave it open to a challenge at some.
Because you really are going to have trouble with business next year, that's for sure. Especially with the resignations. I mean, you've got somebody on this council, bless his heart, who's hung on. He
Yes.
set up, he was a George Pataki appointment, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Is the chancellor helpful to put pressure on? I mean,
City tries. They've been trying with this government.
Local legislators, no, legislators don't have.
I don't know, Billy, I don't know.
we go. And I will go again.
No, but Marty, if you want us to call someone's office every morning and just be really annoying, right? Sometimes that helps. So, you can be alone, but if there's something that you think we can do to help, please let us know.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
We've got a lot of faculty. They've got time on their hands. They can make calls.
I almost wonder.
Don't tell me.
I almost wonder if it could be done as an improper practice through the
Oh, grievance.
grievance or
Yes,
board
bring a grievance against the governor.
Yeah.
I like it.
Score some points, right, in the budget process.
Yeah, like it is. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. He hasn't expressed any particular reason for not doing
I
this.
don't think I don't do this.
No, and again, this is not germane to Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
This exists all over. But enough. I'll be quiet. And we do not have Essence with us, so we don't have a student association. Okay, we don't have Dr. Gordon with us. Okay. Gary.
Dr. Senate, I'll be really brief. We got something done, and we passed a common hour resolution. So long as John signs that, then starting in the spring of 2020, faculty are going to, actually we're going to keep Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 to 1 open. And if faculty need to use that spot, then there's a contingency where they can occupy that spot. But that's going to let faculty and students kind of have a time where we can actually get work done instead of the tyranny of doodle polls that we all live with, which is horrible. So that was exciting. That went through. I'm happy about that. Other things, we were involved a little bit with the searches. We're kind of in a bit of a wait and see moment here, which is kind of cool. And my approach has been to kind of set a good foundation, make sure we have a good. We're welcoming for the new CBO, the new president, eventually new provost, and so I think we're on our way towards doing that, which is exciting as well. There has been a weird conversation about a wonderful conversation. It's not weird about institutionalizing the teaching that John was referring to, which coincides with a resolution that came from the student assembly that for Black Solidarity Day, which would be on the day before elections, so it's every 2 years. And so what a group of people, Brian and I and a bunch of other folks are involved in next semester, having conversations about perhaps joining those two things, Black Solidarity Day, maybe a kind of expanded Black Solidarity Day with the teach-in, and have perhaps a day of every semester dedicated to public teaching of somehow, that where we would kind of put classes on hold, or reassign rather, and have both faculty-led and very excitingly student-led teaching opportunities. So that's work in progress. It's actually kind of exciting, but what we want to do is kind of capitalize on the momentum that we have from this teaching. So next semester, our GE committee is working hard. They're going to do a big push next year for hopefully getting a vote for a new GE program in the end of spring of 2020. And what's really exciting is something that Wendy has been talking about, and something that Dave has been talking about, which is curricular reform. That is, how can we actually use this as an opportunity to encourage faculty to think about what they're doing. And we always do that, but sometimes we need to do it a little more explicitly with more intention. So I think the GE committee, hopefully working with courses and programs, will be instrumental on that. We do have a new major that I'd like to call our attention to prematurely, because it'll be coming to a vote in a couple of weeks, which is the computer security at the branch campus, which should be pretty cool. And I did want, this is not in this Senate, but I did want to mention that the VP advisory committee that the VPs put together have been talking about retention, student retention, quite a bit over the course of this semester. Long meetings, 2-hour long meetings, which are awesome. Everyone knows I love 2-hour long meetings. But they're really kind of looking carefully at the numbers and looking at, retention fall to spring, then fall to fall. And they're trying to find ways of increasing our already good retention rates, but then also then thinking about, where we're losing students and the junior and senior levels. And I also wanted to mention that Suzanne Daly, who's in the academic advising center, she's been working with a couple of colleagues, kind of reinventing the advising model here on campus. So this is my long way of saying that things are being lined up to really kind of reinvent how students will be experiencing their first and second years here at Plattsburgh, which I think is kind of exciting. Okay, we've got a long way to go, and there's landmines everywhere, but I'm feeling excited for the first time in a long time. So I just want to. So that's not really a report, it's me talking.
Could I just ask you a question here?
Yeah.
Regarding the proposed common hour?
Yeah.
As you know, department chairs and secretaries build the spring schedule the first week or so of the fall semester. So that's going to have to be decided then in order to build a common hour in spring, right?
It's past stars.
It's signed.
It's decided. It's good.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's a done deal so long as John signs it. I'll remind you.
It has to get promoted.
You have it? Okay. You can not sit on it. That's your
But I
fire.
haven't. I've never vetoed an act of the faculty senate.
You have it?
Why would I possibly do that?
We would appreciate your support once again.
They should be able to block it out too, I think.
But then the registrar's office basically.
As long as everybody remembers why it disappeared in the first place.
Yeah.
It's because nobody wanted to teach on Friday.
No, that wasn't the,
That's what the registrar told us.
no,
That's what-
that's-
They said it
That's
was
not
lack of
the number.
space.
But I remember that from 13 years ago. The first faculty senate meeting I went to was about getting rid of the common hour. So it's like full circle, 12 years.
It was a lack of classrooms. That's what primary.
And why was there a lack of classrooms? Because the curriculum was concentrated in 4 days instead of 5. It wasn't spread out.
Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday. 2-day week classes may be a problem on campus, but we're going to that's above our pay grade.
Yeah, and as Patty Bentley said, always, it's up to management to set courses.
Yeah, deans can be a little more proactive if they want to. Course, you may end up alienating your faculty. But
Well, it's a pollution too, because students like having Friday off as well.
Ed Miller once told me that 50, something like, well, the majority of 8 o'clock sections that were taught in arts and science were taught by chairs. The chairs were taking the class because other faculty were taking the 8 o'clock class. So I mean, so there's that too. Thinking,
But there is a problem. Gary's right about finding classrooms. And part of the reason is because we don't spread the.
Yeah.
You remember when they had to pull out the carpets in a room in the basement of Champlain?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Because there was asbestos.
Mm-hmm.
We had 6 classes scheduled. And the Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we had no problem. But Tuesday, Thursday,
I think there's probably a conversation regarding academic planning that coincides with schedule planning. That probably will happen in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll look forward to it. 5 days a week.
6 days a week.
Okay. Mr. Hartshell?
so one issue that is a continuing issue is membership in the external review and promotion review panel. We are continuing to have trouble getting people to step up to volunteer for these committees. Part of the reason that it's difficult to get people to step up for these committees is because the load on the committees has increased considerably over the last few years. There might be some issues in regards to how that have to deal more with specifics in terms of the evaluation procedure documents, both in the professional and academic side. So we've started a task force, a labor management task force, to look at some of these issues to see if we can find ways to relieve some of the load in terms of expectations on the external committees. Just to go over briefly, there's 2 elements that are demanding or that are creating an excess demand on the external review board, and that's the number of adjuncts that are being reviewed. Actually, there's 3. The lectures are now being reviewed every year, and we have an increasing number of units without sufficient full-time members to fill up their own peer review group. So that we're needing an extra 1 or sometimes 2 external members to fill out a PRG in a particular unit.
Some of 3.
Some have 3 externals. Theater had 3 externals for a number of years. And so this increases the number of files that each external member has to look at and the number of actual units or meetings that they have to attend. And as this continues on, it makes it harder and harder for people to recommit. And so the number of people who are volunteering is going down every year. It's if you ask Diane Merkel, she would describe it as a crisis right now. So it's something that we have to be dealing with both between labor and management. Statewide, our statewide legislative agenda was a bit of a disappointment, especially because we felt that there was movement on the cap gap, and that just sort of fell apart at the 12th hour, 11th hour, partially possibly because of an overreach on the part of the Democratic Senate, feeling their oats maybe a little bit in terms of just tackling the issue of the tap gap itself. The Senate wanted to look at it, at a tap reform legislation, which was just too complicated to deal with in the budget, in the budgetary legislation. And so the whole tap gap funding just sort of dried up and didn't happen at all, which was unfortunate, especially now that the tuition is going up by $100. It's going to increase the tax gap that much more. Let me see. The NICET RA is coming up, as well as the Representative Assembly, as well as the UUP Delegate Assembly. The NICET RA is meeting, unfortunately, on May 3rd, so I won't be able to come to your dinner. But there are many higher education issues on the table. Of course, it's also many K-12 issues on the table. So it's always an interesting conference, assembly. And it's interesting seeing the different blocks, voting blocks that evolve out of it. SUNY, UUP is actually the second largest voting block in the NICET. The biggest voting block is UFT, of course, the K-12 teachers in New York City. And CUNY is third. On campus, we supported a labor management initiative to have the workshop on diversity and inclusion, which was pretty well attended. And I stopped in for a while. It looked like it went really well. It looked really useful, and maybe we can do that, bring him back.
Yeah, I thought it might be good for the science, actually. Sure. That might be a good group that might be willing to actually.
Right. Unfortunately, I think one of my notices that went out about it got stuck in
Spam. Did it go to spam?
It did go to spam. So, but it went to spam. It went to it went to spam at computer support, which was so. And this is an issue maybe that we can if you put an attachment on a group email, it automatically holds it up. And it's supposed to be reviewed and sent on. But apparently, the notice that it was being held up went to spam at computer support. And so nobody ever looked at it to approve that it went out. Since I didn't get a return, I usually get a notice that it was held up. Since I didn't get the notice that it was held up, I assumed it went out. When you send it out, you don't get a copy back to yourself. So I started copying myself into a different account. Anyway, unfortunately, it didn't go out in time, and so I think that hampered some of the attendance. But it was still fairly well attended. I thought there might have been 20 people. I think 12. Yeah. It was a good workshop, and I'm sorry.
Well, it's never been there.
Yeah, I heard it was fantastic.
It was at the right level.
I guess.
I discovered the problem. When I tried to send out the email for the student tech clinic. So we had a student tech clinic on campus that was sponsored by AFT, and that was, I think they had probably a total of 30 people in the 2 sessions. The student debt clinic is actually for students. It's for professionals who have accumulated student debt and are looking at programs to help them deal with the student loans that they have accumulated. Then the only other thing is that we've had some of our members informing us that there are currently almost no mental health providers in the area that will accept the Empire Plan. And so this is something we've communicated to the legislators and back to UUP benefits. So I'm not sure if there's any other pressure. Anyone else at the table can raise that. So this is. So I'm not exactly sure what the solution is. I think the solution is the pressure to be put on the Empire through NISHIP to make contracts with local providers that they will accept. But apparently the local providers feel that the reimbursement from Empire Plan is not sufficient to continue to give. So, yes.
On the issue of faculty for external reviews, we've done something that I think will leave some of the volume of reviews by saying that lecturers can be appointed for more than 1 year, provided there's assurance that there's a need that's more than 1 year. What we found was that when it was declared 1 year renewals only, we kept hiring the same people over and over anyway. And because it was only 1 year, they were ticked off.
Right.
So we've decreased the volume by doing that a lot.
But now you're going to piss off the people who get the 1 year, which you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Hope the next time.
Right.
We'll benefit next time.
It's a complicated situation. Of course, there's more lecturers than there used to be, and there's more adjuncts than there used to be. And the system was designed for a college that was primarily tenure track faculty. So,
Andy did show us data and analysis that he did where it shows comparable levels of adjuncts over, I forget how many years.
yeah, I think, but the system was designed before. I think his studies.
Oh, right, but I'm just saying, I don't think that.
No, I don't think there's been a huge change in the last 10 years, but the procedures were designed for a different college. I think they're good procedures, but there are some problems. I mean, it's not the same place.
Okay. All right. Ms. Spector is not here. Any old business? Any new business?
Let's make a quick announcement. It's not new business. It's just that those of you, and it's almost everybody in the room, who remembers Bob Golden and knows that he died last September, might be interested to know that there's a burial service on May the 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning at an Eastern Orthodox monastery in Washington County, outside of Cambridge, New York. 9 o'clock. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, New Ski Monastery.
New Ski Monastery.
Of course. I'd like to be buried
Surrounded by monks.
Way cool. Actually, they're more known for training German Shepherd dogs.
Wow.
You make work with dogs.
Okay. Entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah.
There's no quorum.
We never met.
Can't believe it. We're adjourned.
John, you want to make that motion?
I thank you.